Welcome to Your Vibrant Life podcast with me, Alison Stockton, the founder of Vibrant Balanced Health, health and wellness expert, and author of best-selling book, The Woman I Am Becoming. Thank you so much for joining on this podcast, where we will be sharing every week top tips, tricks, and inspiration of how you too can live your most vibrant life. Stepping into areas of personal development, self-love, self-appreciation, spirituality, and becoming the best version of yourself and living your most vibrant life. We're going to share with you steps and advice on health, spirituality, self-love, self-care, self-worth, and how to grow into the most incredible woman that you've always desired to be. This is a space for women to learn, to grow, and to live their healthiest, happiest life with women who are here ready to support you. We are so happy to welcome you here. And if you feel so called to, please do leave a comment at the end of the show to let us know that you've enjoyed it, share it with a friend or two, and inspire somebody today to live their best life and to learn to love the life that they live. We are so grateful for you being here, and we wish you the most incredible journey into living your most vibrant life. So guys, I'm so excited to have you here. This is the first recording of 2020, and we're coming at you with some epic stuff today. I have got the amazing Kerrian Fournier, and she is CEO of Vibrant Ventures. Yes, her name is Vibrant too, but spelled with a Y, not an I. She is a professional services company dedicated to unlocking the highest level of potential and performance in individuals. And Kerrian has some amazing experience in life, in business, and with everything. And I'm so excited to have her here to share her knowledge, her wisdom, and her little nuggets of how to live a more vibrant life. So welcome, Kerrian. How are you?
Thanks, Alison, so much for having me. Really a pleasure.
How you doing? You good?
You know what? 2020 has already shaped up to be a really great year. I can't remember the last time I felt like life, career, personal, parenting was so primed for just kind of a breakout year. So it's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a load of fun.
It's amazing. I think so many people are really feeling the energy of 2020. I know lots of people say that every year, but loads of people also step into it with like old baggage, and stepping into it, releasing all of that crap, then it is making such a massive difference. And I'm seeing so many people performing on a higher level this year. And speaking of higher level and performance, then I want to really tap into your kind of golden information on how you do that with people. And because that's what you do, you find their most vibrant energy to live the life that they decide that they're ready for, right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we deploy both consulting and coaching modalities into organizations, into teams on one-on-one coaching. And you know, what's kind of nice about this combination of services is consulting is classically, let me come in, let me give you like sort of my expertise. I'll kind of get you some real fast wins, some momentum, and get you on track. And it's great to have an external point of view to, you know, get someone sort of focused and going. But the coaching is really the secret sauce, where you work with an employee or a leader or a team to help them tap into their sort of inner genius, their knowledge base, you know, the wisdom somewhere buried in there that they don't even know they have. And that's typically done through lots of different types of empowering questions, opening up a realm of what they don't even know they don't know yet.
Yeah, I love
and that's truly where transformational growth happens. And that is it's just so much fun. I mean, it's always difficult. Listen, you're forcing folks to access parts of themselves that they've hidden from for years or didn't even know they had. But you know, when they really have the fortitude and they have the trust with someone like myself or my team to work through that, what's on the other side of it is truly vibrant and golden.
Yeah, I love that. So these people that you work with, who you're able to create these transformations with, are they in corporate? Are they individuals? Do you focus mainly on corporates, or how does it work for you?
You know what? It's a little bit of a balance. I mean, certainly work, excuse me. Certainly we work through corporations, but we also have individual executives and other types of level professionals contact us directly. It doesn't have to be through a corporate account. I personally specialize in what I joke as type A professionals who have been on that overachiever path since they've been in diapers. These people that I also joke tend to be or think they are the smartest people in the room because I am ex-Wall Street. I'm ex-strategy risk consulting. I was a COO of a startup tech company. I mean, I was this person.
Wow. And let me just ask you that on Wall Street, however many years ago, that must have been pretty hardcore and lots of masculine energy coming in then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think much of my life, I really, for a number of reasons, thrived and surrounded myself in a more traditional masculine energy. So it was, there was a lot of ego on my part. If I were to be honest with myself, I'm like, wow, I can really swing it with the guys and, sort of this chip on my shoulder. And I felt very successful, but it's also when you only attach to that energy, it's a sure recipe for adrenal fatigue at some point.
Oh God, yeah. Because again, you're always trying to compete because even to this day and age, as we know, there is always competition for the women trying to be paid the same as men, trying to get the same positions as men, and Absolutely. Really fighting the way. So for you to stay in that male energy, I guess you were thinking, okay, Ola, I am the bee's knees and I am going to get the promotion. And, did you feel, and I'm sure it was true as well, not just feeling, that you had to work so much harder to be at that same level?
Absolutely. I mean, I just owe it. And what was interesting, and I think I learned later on, is you feel if you stay in the job and technically you're the best, somehow that will get you the promotion. And I think I learned a little further into my career that just being at my desk and, bearing most of the work isn't really the only thing. You've got to network. You've got to develop those relationships. It's much more broader than just being the best doer. So yeah, it was a great chapter in my life. I'm glad I had it. I'm also glad when I chose to step away from it.
So what did you do when you stepped away?
I think the Wall Street side, it was really when my daughter was young. My daughter is 15 now. And I was working, she was a newborn. I was working 80 hours a week. And it was just, and I'm a hard worker, but with everything else, it was just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So I did a detour into more of technology organizations, which wasn't much chiller, but it still wasn't that. I mean, pretty much every industry I've been in have been pretty intense. Even certainly when I went to strategy risk consulting firm, Marsh McLennan, that was, I went back to doing crazy hours, but it was a little bit different. I think there's an energy on Wall Street, which is a very, black, white, good, bad, right, wrong, conflicts kind of dynamic. Sure. And I don't necessarily mean open conflict. It's just sort of the wiring. It's sort of, I joke, there's always a winner or a loser on the side of a trade. Yeah. And that can sort of leach into communication dynamics as well. So yeah, it was a fun journey. I loved that part of my life and that I could do it, particularly because, to be honest, it's not what I was trained in. I went to Northwestern University here in the U.S., outside of Chicago. It's got one of the top theater programs. I was trained as a classical actress, Shakespeare, Shaw, all that stuff, was off Broadway, went to London. But I was one of the few theater majors that also took physics and calculus because I realized in hindsight I was highly analytical. Because it interests me. So it's funny how, regardless of what your major is in college, I think your natural leanings, the universe sometimes aligns.
Yeah. And do you know what? It's really good that you knew you had that foresight to do something as well as academically, as opposed to just the performing part of the degree.
Yeah. Because I also thought, listen, if I'm going to, and this is even in my coaching and consulting now, I've always been sort of a behavioral analyst, a behavioral assessor. And, I knew that if I only surround myself and took classes for folks who were wired like me, then I wouldn't really understand them. So, I mean, I had an aptitude to math and science, some other things as well. It was always a little bit more Renaissance-y.
Yeah.
But I needed to, if I knew I wanted to be world-class at something like acting, I had to understand people who are not just wired my way.
Yeah. So how long did you do that for, and what made you stop?
So a couple of years, not too long. I think quickly off, I realized that I love the art, not the lifestyle. And I had, I experienced at around 20, what I call my first trinity of trauma. My twin brother passed away. Not surprisingly after that, my mom had a real mental health fracture, which I had to deal with. And I suffered through a very violent, what we call here, like #MeToo moment. Okay. And, accessing one's creative self when you've had such intense trauma is not the easiest or healthiest thing to do. So I think I quickly pivoted and said, okay, I need to find an environment that I can be both successful and feel safe in, and literally fell butt backwards into Wall Street. I mean, that was not a plan. It's kind of funny how it happened, but.
So when you did that, you had all this trauma, were you already equipped mentally and physically, or was it kind of like, it was just, you just fell back into it, like you say?
As far as, I think I'd always been pretty resilient. I had a loving but tough upbringing on some things. So I was already kind of, and I think I came out of the womb as sort of a fighter. As far as I'm just going to keep going, I'm going to, nothing's going to stop me kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So I think there was that. And I think I love a challenge. So like when I landed my first job on Wall Street at Lehman Brothers back in, what was it? 92, 93. I was like, all right, how am I going to figure this out? And I remember the head of the division, it was supposed to be just a check the box interview for 15 minutes. I ended up talking to him for like an hour and a half. And he asked me, he's like, everybody loves you in this interview process, but please help me understand how somebody who's a trained actor at all deserves this job. And I said, well, think about it. To be an actor, a musician, anything, you have to practice as many hours as it takes. You need to do the research that's necessary. Nobody ever tells you what that is. You just need to do whatever it takes for you to be excellent. And then you have to take all of that and actually act, put yourself out there, put it into action. I go, I can't tell you that I'll know everything that comes at me, but I can tell you I'll do whatever it takes to make sure it's excellent by the time it hits market. And he's like, okay, you're hired.
Wow.
I do right here where I pulled that answer from, by the way.
I was just going to ask you, did you like practice that?
No, I swear at times I just channel stuff. And interestingly enough, we've stayed connected over the years. When he left an organization, like I even helped network him into other jobs and stuff. And it's funny, he said, 25 plus years later, there are 5 interviews he remembers. And that's one of them. Wow. And likewise, I remember my interview with him, and he was just such a wonderful conversationalist on a really authentic way. So it's funny how you make those authentic connections, even in sort of non-traditional settings.
Yeah. And do you know what? I do believe in serendipity as well. It's like sometimes the right people just cross your path that are going to help you to get to where you need to be, regardless of the situation. And it's true what you say as well. I think so many of us, especially in this way that we live right now, that everything's quick, everything's got to be done quick. We want everything immediately. It's like, it does take hours and hours and hours of practice to be an expert in anything. I mean, what is it they say, like 10,000 hours? And I think we're all kind of like, we get this fear of missing out, and we get this imposter syndrome, which I really want to talk to you about as well. And like, we see somebody else doing it, and we think, okay, we've got to do that. So we forget what we're working on, that we're going to be the expert in, and then deviate into something else, and then wonder why we're not getting anywhere because we haven't put those hours in.
Right. And it's okay to do it differently, right? I mean, perfect example, when I ended up being an equity derivative structurer for a couple of years. Once again, weird story about how I ended up with that. And I was sitting next to MIT and Harvard MBAs, for example. I had a theater degree, and I remember buying the textbooks that I needed to and reading the chapters that I needed to. And if I couldn't figure something out, I brought the smartest guy on the trading floor. Wednesday's night was my school night, as I used to joke. I bring him to a local bar. I said, you're either falling off that stool drunk or I understand this chapter, whichever comes first. And I just enrolled, in a kind of a fun way, the folks that I needed to help me learn what I needed to learn.
Yeah.
And so, you can get a classic MBA. Yes, you can do, but there are all sorts of other ways to get the knowledge, the connections, the expertise that you need to, if you're just committed to what the outcome that you want.
Totally. Yeah. I believe that to be so true. Sometimes even the smartest with a degree is not general, no common sense, no worldly wide common sense, no understanding of how to articulate conversations or anything with people. So the piece of paper is amazing.
It's great.
What are you actually going to do with it?
Right. It's part of it. And to be frank, luckily, because I've been on both sides of the coin and I've worked with a lot of, those kind of folks. And there's a part of me that is that person. I love coaching those folks because if they found that moment of humility to say, wait a second, I know I need to round out my expertise. I know I've always defined myself as the smartest person in the room or the valedictorian or whatever else, but somehow something's missing. For me to step in and work with them, I think luckily I have a level of credibility and empathy to help them really unlock this next part of themselves so they can sort of be more three-dimensional leaders, three-dimensional parents or spouses or whatnot.
So I'm going to ask you about that when you say empathy, because obviously being, with the word you used earlier on was egocentric mindset. Now, when you're in ego mind, did you have always the empathy, or was that something you've had to really, really tune into? Because I know you've said that you've always knew that you could unleash the power of people. What was it within them that they didn't know but you saw? So did you always have that empathy, or have you really had to tune into it?
No, I've always, and I shut it down. So as an actor, it is the essence of empathy, literally embodying, if you do real transformational acting, embodying the mindset, the emotions of another. And so in order to find different characters, you need to really look at the world and look around you and understand different frames of reference, understand different emotional states, understand different backstories, right? So I was very wired, almost like a tuning to be that and do that. And then after my first trinity of trauma, I really shut that side of myself down. It's very painful. It's very, very vulnerable and sensitive. And to be frank, for me to survive at that time, what I meant, I probably did need to shut part of that down, maybe not as long or as much as I did. But it was a survival mechanism. So I shut that part of myself down. It was always a little bit there, but I really went into, instead of my heart center, my head center. And overuse my brain in order to power through the next 25 years. Yeah.
And then now you are where you are and are helping women. I'm going to talk about women mainly because obviously our listeners are mainly women. Sure. And you mentioned to me before we kind of popped on here that, how women are still, we've spoken about the categories of fighting for positions, but you said that 90% of them won't apply for jobs because they don't feel that they are qualified enough and they don't have that self-worth. So, let's talk about how you kind of bring that self-worth out of the women who believe they don't have any.
Sure. So what's really interesting, an area that I'll tell you, if I could coach for free, I would do it every day of the week. If I win lotto, I will be, is, the women who are just so done with feeling underpaid and underappreciated and unhappy in their careers. And they want to finally find their voice to step powerfully into the career that they've always dreamed of, something that isn't just good enough. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this area is on my career path, I became a very top compensation expert. And I've been on the other side of literally billions of dollars worth of comp discussions. And I'm not saying that companies have a long way to go to make sure they create an environment for parity and pay equity, but there's a lot of things that I've seen on the individual side where women, get in their own way. And so, for example, as I was saying, there are statistics like many women will not put themselves forward unless they feel they are 90% qualified based upon the job description that is posted. Where statistically, it's typically proven that men, if they think they're even 60% qualified, they'll just put their names forward. Yeah. So that's even putting in yourself in the game, let alone then having to negotiate comp for there, right? Mm-hmm. So that alone, it's amazing. And it's kind of understandable. You know, I look at a lot of research because I have this awesome teen daughter, and I see where things go awry for a lot of girls and their confidence and whatnot. And, you know, many times girls and then women in the workplace, it's about being the best knower, the person who gets the A's, the person that, you know, just has it all locked down together versus someone who really bets on their ability, their learning agility, their ability to step in and figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the work, I've been asked many times, oh, so you teach negotiation. And I go, sort of, that's at the end of the process. But if I really get to work with my clients, either individually or as part of a workshop or a team, to have them lean in and understand the value they bring by just their potential and their ability to step in and assess the situation, figure it out, grow. The good news is every single one of us can look back at our lives and said, I've grown. I've gone from here to here. And how did that happen? How did I do that effectively or maybe not as effectively? It's the ability to step into new situations and figure it out and thrive. Then once again, whether they're perfect for the job, whether it's something they want or not, some of those barriers just kind of fade away and they can have an honest conversation with themselves about where they want to go.
I love that because as you mentioned before, it's about unlocking that inner genius that they didn't even know that they had. Exactly. And listen, we all do it. It's so understandable where you get into these internal narratives. And as I tell my clients, it's not whether you're right or wrong. The question is, does it serve you most powerfully? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is no, then let's work on something that does. Yeah. You know, and it's, you know, for example, you know, if somebody's, well, I'm really frustrated with my boss, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. And all the energies about the frustration of the dynamic with their boss and whether I'm like, yeah, of course you have the right to feel frustrated, but is locking on that energy and that thing really best serving your efforts to champion your career? Totally. Yes. Okay. Let's figure out how to be more frustrated better. Of course, it's really the answer. And I say that with humor. So it's acknowledging whatever someone's feeling and saying, okay, but now let's think about this differently so we can help you step into your power. Yeah. And it is about unleashing that and knowing what the inner genius is and having someone like you to support them to, even if it's not in the corporate world that they want to be in anymore, you know, they've hit 35 or 40 and they think, oh my God, what else am I going to do? It's like taking a sit back and saying, what else do I want to do? Right. And how do I want to do it? So I kind of joke a lot of times, very high performing folks who feel burnt out, totally understandably say, I just want to do the opposite. I want to sit on the beach. I want to open a beach bar. I just want to give it all up. And I said, well, if you're kind of miserable and negative and whatever here, you're probably going to be miserable and negative with a sunburn if you do that, and drunk. Kind of joking, I'm sure they'd have fun for a while. I said, so before you do anything extreme, let's examine not just the what you're doing, but the how you're doing it. Yeah. The why that is motivating you in your life. And like I said, one of the reasons why I spelled Vibrant Ventures, VYBRANTE, is because our premise is to unlock your vibrancy. You have to understand your why, your purpose, the things that you want to manifest in your life, which, by the way, can change at times. And also in the end, it's about your E factor. It's about your energy. And how do you harness your energy in a way that gets you out of your stress reaction, out of fight or flight, and into a way and a vibrancy, literally a vibrating level that is innovative, that's exciting, that is thriving. Yeah. And there are absolutely tools, techniques that can do that for folks. There's a wonderful energy assessment I do with every client of mine that really has a very clear framework so they can be more self-aware as well. They don't just have to be talking to a coach in order to sort of say, oh, wow, where am I right now? And what can I do to better empower myself in the moment? And what would you say that would be? What would be the one top tip that you can say to them to change their energy in an instant?
I think it depends on where they are. So I would love to give you a simple answer, but it really depends. Everybody reacts differently when they go into stress reaction. Classic is, do they go to fight or flight? Do they go into stick your head in a hole? Do they get into conflict mode? I think certainly just being able to take a deep breath and see if there's a way to reframe it in a way that you understand another point of view other than your own.
That's so important.
At least an initial shift that gets it out of, I feel victimized by the situation and, oh, woe is me, or, where it's like a I lose kind of mentality, or the other one, which is more the fighting side, I'm going to win, right? And it's like, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm good, you're bad. That really binary thinking really makes it difficult to get to that next transformational energy vibration. Yeah. Even if you feel like you have a right to feel that way, go through what could somebody else, like role play another perspective for a little bit, and that will help dissipate that energy and just kind of allow you to say, okay, now I can come from a place of choice of what is best serving me.
I love that. It's also, we spoke earlier on about ego. So when you don't believe that you're wrong in anything and you do believe that it's happening to you rather than for you, then once you change that mindset and look at it from another person's perspective and understand like other people's perspectives, then you can move so much further into a greater source of energy. And, when you're talking about your sympathetic nervous system, so if you're in a corporate role, or whether you're an entrepreneur and you're constantly in this battle of, comparing and believing that you're not good enough, then your sympathetic nervous system kind of runs you down and can lead you to that burnout. So it is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I love that analogy too, because it's not always individuals, it's situations. So, I can say now, and I'm, going to be 51 in 2 weeks, that I can look back at my life and authentically say every single time my life hit me with a 2x4 and I thought, oh my God, this is horrible, I can't believe this is happening to me, that it forced me it put me on a path that I needed to go on. And maybe at times I was kicking and screaming, but I know now I have so much more faith that when something happens that are not what I thought was the desired outcome, to release expectations and say, well, where's the gift?
Yeah. And I want to just touch on that because, you are approaching your 51st birthday and we have so many successful millenniums. And this is where, women after 35 can also go into that, oh my God, either fear of missing out or comparison paralysis, and they hold themselves back. And your testimony that just 8 years ago, you made that decision to change your business, but it wasn't just a decision. It was something, again, that happened for you and to you that made that huge trajectory change. So can you tell everybody what it was that kind of...
Absolutely. So my second trinity of trauma happened about, excuse me. My second trinity of trauma happened about 8 years ago. I went from this huge executive position, I joke, great for my ego, huge title, huge compensation, huge office, to being so sick. I was like 80-hour-a-week work, and but I thought, wow, I really made it, to barely being able to get up a flight of stairs. And I was so sick. Had to finally go on disability. Even through all of that, I was still working crazy hours to the point where my body just gave out. Took another 8 months to diagnose me with very bad advanced Lyme disease. Basically shut down my pulmonary system, my endocrine system, all of this. So really, really ill. While I'm on disability, I get laid off. Our CEO had left, a new CEO came in. Actually, a man I very much respect, but he had a different vision. And as many new leaders do, want their own leadership team in. And nor was I there to really kind of lobby for one of the deck chairs being moved. So get laid off. And a couple of months later, after almost 20 years with, married and with someone, it hadn't been good in a while, finally found some evidence of things I'd suspected, and I filed for divorce, all within 9 months. And I remember laying and looking at the ceiling and saying all of the things that catapulted me to external success, ego success. If I continue to think those are the things that are going to get me out of this situation, they are going to drive me into the grave. I must, if not for myself, for at the time my 8-year-old daughter, I need to figure out a different way. And that's where I really went on this journey to figure out what I didn't know. And it was reading different folks. It was taking different workshops. It was really an exploratory time for me. And it's not the part of myself I'm most proud of, but like 10 years ago, I was the person making fun of the people in the self-help aisle. I mean, my mentality 10 years ago is, oh, come on, suck it up, buttercups. If you just work harder, think harder, do more, you'll be fine.
Sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah. And I was
in
so
overdrive.
So ego and so obnoxious in a way. But, it was where I was, and it was, and then, I really, life forced a boatload of humility on me. And also just, to be frank, a reconnection of the who I was before my first trinity of trauma. Yeah. And what was really interesting is when you have bad advanced Lyme disease, you get incredible brain fog, which makes it very difficult to think through and assess. And that had been like my overused muscle for the last 25 years. I mean, I could outthink, outprocess, many folks. And here I was going through all these other major life changes. I didn't have access to my brain in the same way I had for years. So I had to reconnect to my heart center and my intuition in order to make the decisions, in order to navigate through my life. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you it was difficult, but what an incredible blessing, because now I have, I think, the ability to do quantum thinking, quantum processing. I can access my head, heart, and gut and be able to have more three-dimensional decision-making, living. But boy, that was uncomfortable because I hadn't really gone there in a very long time.
Yeah, like you say, you shut it off. And it's funny when you talk about, because the Lyme disease affects so much of your body. It's not just your brain. It's the way that you, like you say, you can't move. You're literally forced into relearning things that you thought you knew just at the click of a button.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like when you can't breathe, I mean, it was like I had COPD. It was like breathing in like pins and needles every time I took a breath. So that affects everything. It just, and, it's just amazing when you get through the other side of it. Boy, you sometimes just have to really get sick in order to, and hopefully people they don't wait till they get that ill to finally curate and, own their own wellness. And that's different than just going to the doctor, like proactively curating your own wellness. Mm-hmm. Certainly the older you get, whether you get advanced Lyme disease like I did or just in general, is just so important. And to be frank, at least in the US, the medical system doesn't always think about it in those terms. No. They think about, let me make you feel better in the here and now. Let me make the symptom go away.
It's not just in the US, it's everywhere. It's, this is the thing that we're trying to fight it with as health coaches. It's prevention. But like you say, you got this, and it's a terrible disease, and it can be contracted either by a bite or virally or whatever. Not virally, but you can contract it. And it's because other people can't see that you're ill, you can only feel it. This is also one of the biggest struggles when your joints are aching and your body is, unable to function. You don't have the support. It's like, okay, what can we band-aid you with? What can we, rather than healing you, then what can we band-aid you with? So how long were you in this process of like really struggling with your health?
So probably before I actually went on disability, it was probably a good year that I just kept pushing through it with the crazy hours. And then it was 8 months after I went on disability that I got diagnosed. So all sorts of specialists, all sorts of folks who, to be frank, when it wasn't their answer that they specialized in, they get irritated and frustrated with me and try, it was really fascinating, And then it was probably a good 2 years slow climb back. And then I still have flare-ups, and, I honor them. I listen to my body much, much better than I used to. I love when my daughter makes sure I do too. She's funny. She likes being a little mom to me at times. But yeah, no, it was a slow climb back. And, in a way it was good. It was a slow climb. It had to be. And the old me would have been like, all right, how do we fast track this? How do we, push
the resilient brain. And to be fair, if you had been stronger, healthier, and taking care of your wellness, not working 80 plus hours a week, your recovery could well have been quicker, but you probably were already on burnout because you were not taking care of yourself.
Absolutely, Allison. And I mean, I had such adrenal fatigue now, I realize. It was like I was on fumes. But you don't want to be the one, God forbid I was perceived as underperforming or I let something drop, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else's agenda was top priority, and my own well-being and mental and emotional and physical health were so far down on the pecking order of where I prioritized, where I needed to put my time and energy. And now I realize that is step one, because if I don't have that as a foundation, I can't properly be the leader of the company that I need to be for myself and, those that are part of it. I can't be the mother I want to be to my awesome, #futures female kid. I can't be the partner to, my boyfriend that I would want to be if I don't really prioritize myself. And that's not being selfish. In fact, that's laying the foundation in order to be the highest level of service giver.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's something that we need to reframe and kind of work backward with so many women, whether you're 25, 35, 50, or whatever age you are, no matter where you are, you can reverse it. And you said something to me earlier on that, you are the writer of your own chapter. And
Absolutely.
Even if you have had an illness that has been undiagnosed or you're feeling really unwell, sometimes the doctors don't always have the answer, but within you, you know that there's something wrong and you know that there is the deep healing that you can do. And when you change your mindset as you did and thought, right, okay, this is time for change. This is time to really go deep in this. And then it's always going to be hanging around you. But like you say, it's a little reminder. What am I doing too much of and what am I not doing enough of?
Exactly. Where am I not really owning it? Where have I let my commitment to myself slip? Like for me, it really helps if I'm gluten and dairy free. It really that undermines my immune system. And listen, once again, I'm really busy. I'm running a company. I'm a single mom. I'm always on the move. It's hard to sometimes really honor that. But when I do, I feel a lot better. And when I don't, my bronchitis kicks in, my brain fog slips back. And so when all of a sudden I start, getting sick again, this summer was perfect example. I'd been going, getting a little bit back to my old habits of perhaps pushing myself a little too far because I didn't want to let, once again, different people down. And I got sick again. And I'm like, oh, okay, good reminder.
Yeah, because you'd let yourself down. You hadn't let anybody else down, but you weren't actually performing on top level because you weren't at your top level. That's the thing.
Exactly.
That's the key.
Exactly. And you know what? It was a great reminder too. And I know we talked about this, as much as Lyme disease events, it was awful. It was like literally the universe's gift to me because I don't think I would have had the courage or the opportunity to have made that life change. And so, I get frustrated when I have these relapses, but I always attach it to, okay, wait a second. This was really one of the greatest gifts.
Yeah.
And what is this? How do I reframe this to say, what am I supposed to be noticing?
Yeah.
About my life, about myself. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
And I'm going to use a quote. You said it to me earlier on before we kind of hit record, and it was, what you resist persists.
Yep.
In every aspect of life, if you know that there is niggling signs of illnesses and you just keep resisting it and putting off and not getting help, it will continue. If you know that there is something, like you have this insane power to bring out the vibrancy of women and men who know they want something more from their life. You're helping them to do that. But when they keep resisting it, it's going to carry on until they
because you're throwing energy at it, right? I mean, it's classic energy entanglement. It's sort of the joke, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. Right? And it takes the same amount of energy to love or to hate, and love is so much better. Right. And so much better. And once again, if you want to step away, hating is just sort of the dark side of an energy entanglement. So, when you're indifferent and you just sort of let it be and you kind of walk away. And I mean, that's sort of relationship, but there's all sorts of examples of that. And that's why, and I speak on this quite a bit. I'll be writing on it. The concept of judgment, right? Right, wrong, good, bad. black, white thinking really drags your energy down, really creates this paradigm where there's even if you feel like they're winning, everybody loses. And so how do you shift that? And so yeah.
So let me ask you this, we're going to wrap it up. And you have literally transformed your life for the better each and every step. It didn't come without its challenges and hurdles and everything else. And we're talking about your energy, and we're talking about being vibrant with a Y, not an I. So tell me about what is, like, I know it slipped in the summer, but really what is non-negotiable for you to create the best version of yourself each and every day?
So what's non-negotiable for me is, a couple of years ago, I just remember saying, I will no longer make myself smaller for a man or a job ever again. I can't do it. I won't do it. It'll kill me. I've done it, all these justifications through the years. So now, I have a level of commitment to living and having a vibrant life in many dimensions. And listen, different days, it's hard, whatever. Yeah. But the standard of and that is a non-negotiable for me. And so I check in with myself, now, where am I not living into that? Where am I kind of thinking or being too small, either because, understandably it's scary sometimes, and you've got to look at your inner gremlin messages that are saying, oh, you can't, you won't. But that living into that broader, vibrant life for me is just a non-negotiable. To be able to do that, as we mentioned, like my health, like I need to curate my health in a way that is proactive and empathetic to myself and compassionate and still fun. Yeah. So I try different things. Not everything I try necessarily works, but I'm always on a quest to figure out what's that right secret sauce of, it's not burying me with the amount of effort or money that it takes to get it done, but is certainly serving my health. And last but not least, listen, I need to surround myself with a tribe of seekers. Yes. I can't necessarily, though people that will always be part of my life that I love and I have history with, but for me to really ride at the top of my game, create the value that I want, live in a really vibrant life, finding those individuals who want to be on that journey too, for themselves, with me in general, that is a really critical part of the journey, I feel.
I think it's so important for everybody. They say you become like the 5 people you surround yourself with mostly. And if those 5 people are negative or not bringing energy or vibrancy into your life, then it can be a really tough gig. So I think that's so important for everybody to really be able to find people who lift them up, inspire them, and almost empower them.
Absolutely. And listen, you can still honor those folks, but you can kind of redefine what the relationship with them are, right?
Totally.
Versus that inner circle. I love that concept, those inner 5. And it's just shifting the chess pieces on the board a little as far as who are the ones that are really surrounding you.
Yeah. And I love the fact that when we spoke before and I asked you about, knowing that everything has happened for you rather than to you, that it's brought you to literally living your most vibrant life because you have an amazing daughter, you've got a job that you absolutely adore, and even if you work 7 days a week, you're loving it because it's bringing so much inspiration and happiness to others that it doesn't feel like a job. And you've found a new love. So, knowing that you can step into all these things, age is not capped. It doesn't mean, right, okay, you hit 40.
I feel younger now. I mean, honestly, I joke when you start to curate your energy, in a proactive way, I joke it's like energetic Botox. People have told me I look younger now than I did 10, 15 years ago. Like it's so funny. And it's like, you exude it, you shine it. And it's not like I'm trying to be immature. You're just having fun in life. And when you have fun in life, like that just seems more useful. And it's just 100%. A great place to be.
It could be with releasing the gluten and dairy as well, because that brings you brain fog.
Oh, I know, right? Absolutely.
It's so many things that are attributed to you now. But I know that we spoke about one little key element that some people do find really hard to do on a daily basis. So what's your take on meditation?
So it was something that I had a hard time committing to for a long time. And then when I finally released my perfectionist tendencies, and I realized even 5 minutes a day, and even if my monkey brain entirely takes over, like that, accepting my crazy monkey brain going all over the place for 5 minutes and just once again not resisting it, just letting it happen. I mean, trying to herd it back into calmness and centering, but if it doesn't happen, sets me up for so much success. Just, it sort of has me look inward, has me attached to my intuition and my heart center in a way that when you get in the go-go mode, it's hard, right? I mean, we've got a lot of things that distract us and kind of can take us off our hymn sheet of what we want to create. And even if we have these little practices that just kind of bring us back to center on good days, on bad days, I found it's a really critical element. And listen, I can't say I do it 7 days a week, but I absolutely see the difference the days I do and the days I don't.
Yeah, I think it's so important. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It can be if you have it, and it can be if you want to. But even just 5 minutes where you're kind of shutting off and being with yourself and being with your thoughts, no matter how scattered they are. It's like, what do you take away from that moment of meditation? So it is important. And I'm going to ask you one last question as we wrap it up on here. If you could give one affirmation that would inspire the listeners that can literally find themselves saying, yeah, I can do that, what would that affirmation be?
Well, this was sort of a mantra I created about 18 months ago that has made all the difference in my life, professional and personal. And it's exploration, not expectation.
Oh, I love that.
And it's very interesting. You go into a situation, perfect example, if with my company, I'm learning how to business development network. If every conversation I have with someone, the only way I judged or had expectations of success was, am I going to get a client out of it? Am I going to get revenue out of it? I'd be disappointed and frustrated pretty often. But and you're only playing on the chessboard that you have when you're so saddled any situation with finite expectations of only one way it can be successful. But when you just open up and you are authentic and you're present and you explore what is presented in front of you, it is amazing. All these different avenues and ways things become vibrant, profitable, fun. It's almost like life jazz. It's really made a tremendous difference for me. And I'll be honest, when I started my company, I was very nervous about the business development, marketing network side of things. Hadn't done it before. And it's one of my favorite things now because I come from this lens.
And also you've probably done 10,000 hours, so you become an expert at it.
Yeah, I'm getting there, let me tell you. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what? Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And for the listeners, I'm sure they're going to get so many golden nuggets from our conversation today. And I just want to ask you, Kerrian, how can they get hold of you if they want to follow you on your Instagram or Facebook or wherever, if they want to be inspired, feel inspired and live a vibrant life? And I keep saying vibrant with a Y, not an I.
Yes.
Where can they get hold of you?
A Y and an E. So certainly my website is a good place to see our services. It's www.vybrante.com. If you want to reach out to me personally, I have clients literally all over the world because thank God for Zoom and
thank God.
So it's Kerrian, Kerrian at vibrant.com. You can follow us on Vibrant Ventures on Facebook, Vibrant_Ventures on Instagram. Me, Kerrian Fournier on LinkedIn, YouTube. But they've got all the links on my website too. So I love interacting with our community. We're sort of getting our vibe, we joke, our vibe tribe going. And it's just such a wonderful group of fellow seekers. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And what we haven't just shared is, I don't think we have, maybe we did, I'm not sure, but the vibrant with a Y and an E on the end is for your energy. Is that right?
Yeah, so the premise is to unlock your vibrancy, whether it's individual or team or organizational. You have to understand your why. So what's that true north? What are you really seeking? And in the end, it's about your E factor, your energy, and how do you really harness it in the most expansive and vibrant way possible.
Amazing. Thank you so much again for being here, and to all my guests, be sure to tune in, to follow Kerrian, and to drop your comments below that you love the show and what you got from it mostly. That would be absolutely amazing. And thank you to everybody for tuning in again and listening and sharing this podcast if you feel that there is somebody you know that would also love it and also benefit from it. So I hope you guys really enjoyed that interview with Kerrian. And after we finished our call, she very, very kindly gave me an option for you guys to have a 15-minute laser coaching session with her. So if you would love to reframe and open up your thinking on a problem you're dealing with right now, either in your professional or your personal life, then you can sign up for a quick 15-minute laser coaching session with her. And I'm going to drop the link below for you. So that's an amazing gift from her to you. So I do hope you take that opportunity to jump on a call and really unleash your potential to something that you might actually be holding on to and not brave enough, or you haven't quite found what it is, but you know there is more there to live a vibrant life. So do remember to just drop down into the comments and you will see the link to jump on that call and take the opportunity to have that chat with Kerrian. So thank you so much, Kerrian, for doing that for all of our listeners. So I want to say a huge thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. I really am so grateful for all of you. We are so grateful for all of you that are tuning in, and that if you feel that you have got value from this podcast, if you feel that there's so much more that you want to hear, then please do go over to iTunes, leave a review, and share this episode with some of your best friends or people you know would also really, really get value from it. We only grow through you, and we're only here because of you. We want you to know that each and every woman out there, we are supporting you, we have your back, and we really want to bring you as much value as possible. So from all of us here at Vibrant Balanced Health, we want to say thank you so much for listening to us today. Your honesty is so important, and we really, really just want to help more and more women live their more vibrant life and create impact. And that only happens with your support and with your connection to share this message with thousands of women. So thank you so much for stopping in. And if you feel called to, please do pop on over, leave a review, say hi, leave your comments, let us know what you'd like to hear more of, and we will be sure to bring you even more value over and over again.